Hi and welcome. Last week my Gilera 350 Saturno overheated and now it's time to find out why. Now I've checked the coolant level and it's okay. The radiator cap seems to be fine and sealing, and the radiator fan seems to be coming on properly. So the only two items left to check are the thermostat and the water pump. Now, being a 30-year-old motorcycle and I'm not quite sure of its history, my prime suspect is the water pump. The water pump on these does have a reputation of failing. Water gets past the seal and into the bearings, and that will obviously cause the shaft that drives the pump to seize to the bearings, and the pump stops working, no water flow, no cooling. Now, the water pump is actually driven from the back side of the cam belt. It sort of runs as an idler wheel, so I have to take this cam belt cover off to see if there's any water weeping out and seeing if the bearings are rough or if it's seized. Now, my particular bike, which is fitted with an Isle of Man exhaust system, so it has a pipe on both sides, I also have to take this header pipe off to gain good access to the cam belt. So the first thing we'll do is take the left-hand exhaust system off. Now we'll take the cam belt cover off. It's in two parts. There's the top cover here and the lower. Top's just held on with one screw. Okay, we've got the cover off, and now it's time to see if the pump will actually rotate. Now, it doesn't seem to want to move, and I don't think that's anything to do with belt tension. It should be able to move a little bit. So what I'll do is I'll operate the Kickstarter and see if this pulley rotates. Well, it looks like the water pump is locked solid. The next step will be to drain the coolant from the system and adjust the tension on the cam belt so that we can actually get the pump out. Now we have to turn the engine over to top dead center on the firing stroke so we can release the tension on the cam belt tensioner. That will allow us to pull the cam belt away from the water pump idler pulley. And the easiest way to do that is to first take the spark plug out, so it's a lot easier to turn the engine over. Okay, now we just need to use a spanner to rotate the engine over to top dead center on the firing stroke. Now I've taken the alternator cover off and just hung it up on a piece of wire here to one side to relieve the strain on the wiring. Now there's timing marks on the flywheel here and also on the cam pulley. So we just rotate the engine over. And as you can see, the timing marks on the flywheel line up, and also the timing marks on the cam pulleys. And now we'll just take the tension off the cam belt. Okay, now we can take the belt off. I'm not going to take too much care taking the belt off because I'm going to replace it. You know, it's been slipping on this seized water pump for a few kilometres, so it would be a prudent decision to replace the belt. So I'm just going to pull it off the water pump, and then I can take the pump out. Okay, now we can just start loosening these screws. That one's a bit tight. Now that was hard to get out, and you probably can't see it on the camera, but the actual shaft is actually cocked over slightly, so the bearing obviously collapsed and seized, so coolant is obviously getting through the seal into the bearing. Now the bearings are fairly easy to get, but the seal may be a bit of a problem, so I'll have to do some research on the net to see if I can track down a seal. So part 2 of this video will be rebuilding this pump, and then we'll do a part 3, which will also include replacing this cam belt. And to do that, I'll need to take this flywheel off here, and you really do need a puller for that. I'll just do some research and find out the easiest way to do that, because I suspect you won't be able to get a factory puller. But it looks similar to some of the Ducati pullers, but I'll find out. I'll see you next time.